The San Francisco 49ers victorious in Week 13 at the Cleveland Browns, 26-8. Our immediate reaction, game balls, and a team that came up big in bad weather in the trenches on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks everybody for tuning in, making us your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making us the number one sports podcast network. We're going to break down everything that went down in Week 13 with the San Francisco 49ers. Big win over the Cleveland Browns. And today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Big win, Croc, 26-8, 49ers over the Browns in Cleveland. Didn't rain and snow. There was a lot of snow on the ground coming in. Thought it could have been an even worse weather game. Wind doing a number on a lot of balls in the air. So this was really important game on the ground for the San Francisco 49ers. And we saw that especially early points were hard to come by. And I think the biggest takeaway on the first half of the game, in the beginning of the football game, is you have to immediately give a game ball to Skyy Moore and the 66-yard punt return. It went punt, boom, 66-yard return. Niners had the ball at the 16-yard line. Christian McCaffrey plunged it into the end zone for the first score. And that was darn near all the 49ers needed, was that big punt return to put them in position to win this game where points were very hard to come by, especially for the Cleveland Browns offense.
Yeah, well, this game was another one, almost like the Arizona Cardinals game, where the 49ers offensively were very opportunistic and turned those opportunities into points. You had a big return for the 49ers that really helped, set up by Skyy Moore. You had a muffed punt that turned into a touchdown as well. So the 49ers did a terrific job, as I just saw it, you pull it up. But basically, 49ers won all three phases. CC in the chat. All three phases, baby. 49ers did a terrific job of winning all three phases. And a very important win. I understand that the opponent wasn't the most challenging, but challenging elements that the 49ers were able to battle through. That was good. 10 a.m. start time Pacific for the 49ers team, and you win. That was good. And the Rams lose. So the 49ers kind of, they're right there in striking range of potentially winning the division. So a lot of positives out of this win for the 49ers.
So, yeah, easy game ball for Skyy Moore. And really the 49ers special teams altogether has to get a game ball here because of how much of a problem it was for the Browns. And you thought, oh, man, weather, wind, is this going to be a problem for Brock Purdy in the 49ers passing game? Now, there wasn't balls flying all over the place in the passing game. It wasn't a laser show or anything like that. But it was really the 49ers beating the Browns in the special teams game and multiple problems handling the football for the Cleveland Browns. Big mistake by Malachi Corley catching the ball at the sideline for whatever weird reason. He did the only thing he couldn't do, he did wrong there on that one. And then the muffed punt a little bit later on, which the 49ers, like you mentioned, opportunistic, getting the ball back and converting that into points. So massive win in the third phase for the San Francisco 49ers on special teams. And obviously, new special teams coach in town for the 49ers. Started out slow. They've really come around and been a very good special teams unit. Matt Gay making his kicks and the big Skyy Moore return. So huge win on special teams for the 49ers. And it was all three phases. Let's start with the 49ers offensive line, Brock. And I had Trent Williams written down very early as a game ball guy. And then Myles Garrett did get a sack. But, man, 1 third and long sack for Myles Garrett when you're playing against the Cleveland Browns, I think we'll take that all day long. So Trent Williams, Colton McKivitz, I know Kittle was helping out, and they were doing some things to help out. But I thought overall this was a game that was going to need to be won in the trenches, and the 49ers did just that. So Trent Williams did get beat by the one Myles Garrett sack, 19th sack of the year for Myles Garrett through 13 weeks, which is kind of insane. And I'll take that all day long, Croc, from the 49ers offensive line against this Browns defensive front.
Yeah, I felt overall the 49ers offensive line did a solid job of protecting Brock Purdy. There were a couple times where he maybe kind of was in harm's way of potentially getting hit or sacked, but he did his Houdini maneuvers and got out of there and either threw the ball away or threw a couple of really nice, I feel like, big conversions on third downs for first downs to really help kind of put Cleveland Browns away. So terrific job by the 49ers offensive line, really presenting those kind of opportunities for Brock Purdy.
And then behind that 49ers offensive line, Brock Purdy. Give a game ball to Brock Purdy for, first of all, just not turning the ball over, right? That was the big thing all week long. Everyone got on their soapbox and declared what Brock Purdy was after throwing 3 interceptions, having a bad football game. This was set up to be a game that could have been a really bad football game for Brock Purdy and the 49ers. He was smart with the football, throwing the ball away at times. It was 16 of 29, 168 yards passing. The one touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings. It wasn't anything special throwing the football, but it was just, this was a game that the team that made the fewest mistakes was going to win. And the 49ers made the fewest mistakes. Brock Purdy, part of that, making getting out on the run a little bit. He looked okay health-wise and didn't try to do too much, didn't try to force it. And the 49ers came out on top here. Christian McCaffrey, you knew it was going to be hard to come by against that front on the ground. 20 carries for Christian McCaffrey, 53 yards, and did have that early score as well. And so, but overall, Brock Purdy, give him a game ball for not turning the stinking ball over, right? Because that was going to be one of the huge keys to this victory.
Yeah, that was one of the really big elements, right? Was how is Brock Purdy going to play in this type of weather? And so far, what we've seen throughout his career, not the greatest performances especially when it gets wet out. It looked relatively dry the entire time. So once I kind of saw the weather and I'm like, okay, it might be a little cold. That's a guy that played in Iowa. I think he'll be just fine playing in this type of weather. And he looked like Brock Purdy. And I think one of the biggest things, like you said, not turn the ball over, but I didn't really see the turnover worthy throws. And that's something you would like to see him continue to do. If he throws for 16 completions for 29 yards every game, but he's not hurting the 49ers, I think we can all live with that.
It wasn't a let's go out and make big plays type of game. And so I think the 49ers played that right. And they just did a lot of little things to go win this game, including Brock Purdy sometimes getting out of trouble, sometimes throwing the football away. Not a high efficiency game, not a big volume game in the passing game, but not a lot of mistakes. And they didn't hide Brock Purdy, and they didn't hide from the passing game either. He threw the ball 29 times, threw the ball more times than the Cleveland Browns did in this game, even though they had a lead most of the time. And actually,
like the first five plays, they came out throwing the ball.
That's an interesting one because Kyle Shanahan against Jim Schwartz is always a really interesting matchup. I think Schwartz does about as good a job as anybody does against Kyle Shanahan's offense in the NFL. And I think Kyle knows that. And he knew it was going to be tough in this game. And even before McCaffrey had the touchdown run after the Skyy Moore return, Kyle went to some tricky stuff. He did the halfback pass that didn't hit, but I think that was in Kyle's head. He's like, look, they are going to expect one thing. We're going to have to show them some other looks. And he is trying to outsmart Jim Schwartz a little bit. You think, oh, they're going to come out running all day long. They come out throwing a lot. And then they go to the ground game. And then they start pounding Christian McCaffrey, who took a lot of hits in this game. And again, didn't put the ball on the ground, which was really, really important. Had the touchdown. They tried the halfback pass. Didn't quite work. But I think that was a little bit of an early kind of a hat tip from Kyle Shanahan to Jim Schwartz, who's like, yeah, we're going to throw some stuff at you today to try to get some points on the board because we know how difficult it's going to be against your defense.
Yeah, you talked about it not being a game where the 49ers had to have a bunch of explosive plays and whatnot. And I'd say one of the things I was very impressed with is just the making this win look like it was supposed to look, considering the opponent you were going up against with a rookie starting his first start, right? Like you would hope that it would look that way, and it felt like the 49ers were pretty much in command the entire game. Even at some point into the first half, they were down a little bit, drove down, got a field goal out of it to take the lead going into halftime. But I never felt any sense of panic or worry watching the 49ers game. It almost felt like, they're going to be just fine. Just don't do any weird things. And we saw the Cleveland Browns, as you noted, stepping out of bounds on the kickoff return, fumbling. We saw them time and time again shoot themselves in the foot. They were the team that I think we expected them to be. So now it's just don't do anything to help them. I didn't think the 49ers did at all. That was huge. And I think that's a big part of a lot of the schedule for the season this year. There were a lot of people that were saying, oh, strength of schedule, that stuff doesn't matter. Well, it has mattered. And I think it really helped the 49ers try to figure out some things, work through some injuries while not playing against the best competition. Now, from game to game, anything can happen. 49ers dominated the Carolina Panthers last week. And then you fast forward to this week, and the Carolina Panthers beat the New York, I want to call them the Saints.
The Los Angeles Rams. That was
the Los Angeles Rams. There we go. The Los Angeles Rams. That was a team where people are, oh, it's just the Panthers. So anything can happen from week to week. But the 49ers definitely did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, you're the better team. You're going in. It's a hostile environment on the road. Maybe weather's against you too, but go handle your business. And very impressive the way the 49ers did, again, in all three phases. One of those phases we haven't talked a lot about yet is the 49ers defense. And I think there's some game balls to give out there as well next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, and that's why the Gametime app is so clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. I use Gametime all the time, whether it's sporting events, whether it's for concert tickets, and with Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. And all you do, you pull up the app. The layout makes it so simple to scroll through. You find matchups when it comes to a big event and a tournament like the World Cup. You compare seats, compare views, figure out which games you want to go to. The seat view feature is a game changer. And of course, I hate those hidden fees. No hidden fees. What you see is what you pay at Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app and make an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Gametime. All right, Crockett, you mentioned it really quick. Anything can happen in the NFL. You think a game's going to be easy. It's not. You think a team is bad. Turns out they're good. You think a team is great. Turns out they're beatable. And one of the biggest things you can't do is beat yourself. So huge for the 49ers coaching staff here. And you brought it up there with the Panthers and the Rams. I was crushing the Panthers. It's like the Panthers are not good. They're not a good football team. And then they go out and beat what was pretty much universally thought of as the best team in the NFL in week 13. And so the Panthers knock off the Los Angeles Rams. And one of the big reasons that was able to happen is because guess what? Matthew Stafford, like Brock Purdy last week, 3 turnovers. And so look, is Matthew Stafford the next Tua, as one of the talking heads said about Brock Purdy last week? This league is crazy, Croc, and anything can happen. So control what you can control and don't make it easier on your opponent. And the 49ers did not make it easy on the Browns today.
You know what? With the 49ers, the way that game turned out, you had 3 picks from Brock Purdy, but still got to win. And I bet I keep wanting to call them the Saints or St. Louis Rams. The Los Angeles Rams would tell you, heck, man, our quarterback didn't play very well, but we would much rather have got a W and figured out some things or worked through those things, because the 49ers came out the very next week and Brock Purdy, 0 turnovers. So the other thing the Browns did, got stuffed on 4th down. Another one fumbled the snap on 4th down, going for it in their own territory. They're just a bad football team. They set the 49ers up for a lot of success.
They got wrecked on 4th down. Oh, hold on. I want to bring up the team stats. I'm pretty sure they were 0 for like 5 on 4th down by the end of it, weren't they? Let's see. 3rd downs, they were no, I lost the 3rd down. Here we go. 3rd downs, Cleveland was 3 of 11, and 4th downs, they were 0 for 4. There was the big first 4th down stop, 4th and 1, and Quinshon Judkins could not get the 1 yard there. I got to highlight my guy CJ West on that one. And I know it was Mustafa and Elliott that came in. I think Nick Martin was in there. Nick Martin, by the way, left the game and injured, but was flying around hitting guys. Like, he's fun to watch just because he's top speed. And there are collisions when he's on the football field, whether it's special teams or he's getting some snaps on defense now. It's nice to see him getting a few snaps on defense. But it was Mustafa and Elliott that made contact, and made that stop on 4th and 1. But none of that can happen without CJ West, rookie defensive tackle, in the middle, lined up over the center, taking on a double team, taking on 2 blockers, stacking them, giving up no movement in the run game. So a huge, and really it was very much a team win on defense for Robert Saleh's unit, Croc. And you talk about going 0 for 4 on 4th down. I mean, that was huge. At the end of the game, Shedeur Sanders didn't even try to make a play. He sat down on a 4th down play. It's like, I don't know what to do here. We can't beat you guys today. I'm going to sit down and we're going to go back to the locker room. So Robert Saleh, I think, has to get a game ball here because of the team effort on defense. It wasn't a one-man show on defense at all. It was everybody contributing.
Yeah, I thought that Shedeur, for a young guy, was kind of put in certain situations where I'm like, why don't you guys do that? 4th and 16, they elected to go for it, right? At this time, there's 7.5 minutes left. They're down 2 scores. So you have some kind of a chance. You have a better chance of probably coming back down 2 scores than you do picking up 4th and 16 with your young quarterback, who clearly doesn't know what he's seeing from opposing defenses right now. They went for it. He got sacked on that play, had a free runner coming, knowing that play is going to take a long time for things to develop. And you got a guy coming right at the quarterback. That was tough. And then, like you said, fast forward later in the game, 4th and long, he takes off, picks up 6 yards, and then essentially slides to keep himself out of harm's way. A lot of learning lessons for that young guy over there at quarterback, but not sure some of the things that the Cleveland Browns did helped at all. Again, got a young guy, and we talked about all the miscues, stepping out of bounds on the kickoff return, fumbling. The fumble was the number 44, Fannin, on the 4th and inches.
Yeah, the direct snap.
And then the muff punt, all these things, just things that hurt, especially a young guy. You kind of putting all the pressure on me, and he is not ready for that.
No, and you watch the Browns play, and it's like, man, they're leaning so much on their rookies. You got a rookie 5th round quarterback. You got a rookie tight end 3rd rounder, and they're leaning so much on those players. And that's usually a losing, that's a losing combination usually in the NFL. It's tough. And I think Sanders might be okay. There were some things that you like about Sanders. I love the touchdown play to Fannin. I love that Fannin gives the effort, was able to run through Bernardo Green for the touchdown, that little tight end sort of out and up, the post from the outside receiver.
Can I talk about that concept?
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine call me and ask me, who's wrong? And I'm seeing on social media too, like, the secondary's cooked, And so I don't know what coverage they were in. It looked like a two shell. I'm assuming some kind of a quarters coverage. Now, with us, how we run it at the high school level, and you see that college level, a lot of times the safety is responsible for the vertical too. Now, there is an exchange area between the corner and the safety in quarters. Some people like it at 5. Anything past 5, you have to keep it. Some people like it at about 8. Some people like it at 10. Well, where he ran that, you have both guys kind of pushing up, then you have another guy kind of bend it in, and then that out and up comes. It was almost like it messed with the rules of the 49ers DBs. Now, the way I teach it is I typically have a flat defender, and there was a linebacker in. I always tell my flat defender, go with the second guy through your zone. So the first guy is number 1, pushing up vertical at you. The second guy will be the guy that goes out and up. I have to carry that out and up because the outside guy probably pulled coverage from there. And I don't know what their coverage was. It looked like maybe quarters. I don't like to guess on things like that, but it felt like watching it, it was more of a good coverage beater type play as opposed to 49ers just truly blowing an assignment.
Right. I agree. I think it was just a good call against a certain look, and they did a good job of executing that call. And I think it was Gifford, who was the linebacker on that, had the flats. He goes out into the flat, looks like an out, then he curves up, he turns up really quickly. Ball was out on time, and they were able to hit that window in front of the corner, who was Bernardo Green on that side, and wasn't able to make the tackle either. So, tip your cap, they made a good play on that one. But the 49ers defense limited those big plays all day long. So props to the coaching staff and especially Robert Saleh, who gets a game ball for the team defense in this football game that did a really good job against the pass against the run, even at times when it looked like the Browns might have some momentum. They were able to, get the turnover, get the stops when they needed them, which was obviously massive for the 49ers defense. Quinshon Judkins, 23 carries for 91 yards in this one for the Cleveland Browns. And again, Shedeur Sanders, similar line to Brock Purdy, 16 of 25 passing, 149 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was sacked 3 times. Speaking of sacks, Brock, Niners getting a little bit of pass rush the last couple of weeks. So I think we got to highlight some guys on the defensive side of the ball as well next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by PrizePicks. The holiday season is one of the best time for sports. You got bowl games, you got big basketball matchups, you got playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every single day, one of the most fun places to make choices and to make the right call is PrizePicks, because you get paid for it. PrizePicks is easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineups, and you're in the game. It's simple. You can make multiple lineups. You can just make one quick lineup. It's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and PrizePicks has added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule with so many ways to play. And how about the early payout feature? A new feature at PrizePicks. It's a great bonus when your lineup starts strong. You may get the option to cash out early if you like where you're at. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, Croc, taking a look at this 49ers 26-8 win over the Cleveland Browns. And one more note when it comes to Purdy and Shedeur Sanders in the passing games here. Purdy only sacked 1 time. It was that 1 sack from Myles Garrett. You'll take that all day long against this Cleveland Browns front. Shedeur Sanders sacked 3 times in this one. And I think Sanders was affected more by the weather and the wind than Brock Purdy. You saw him try to make a couple throws, especially that one deep ball at the end of the game. That was just, it looked like a punt. Like you talk about arm punts, that's one of the most arm punty looking throws ever. And it looked bad out of his hands. So I don't know if it would have been a wobbly pass anyway, probably, but obviously the wind playing a role there as well. That thing could have been picked off, and it ended up being just a sort of a jump ball with 2 49ers there and a Browns receiver there. Nobody came down with that one, but again, not an easy day to throw the football. 49ers didn't turn the ball over. They didn't create a lot of negative plays. They didn't get sacked a lot, and the 49ers defense did create some plays, did get turnovers, did create some sacks. 3 sacks in this game, Croc. And if we're giving game balls to Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan and Brant Boyer, the special teams coordinator, what about a quick little game ball for a guy who took a lot of grief this week in 49ers GM John Lynch? People were talking about fire John Lynch after the Brandon Ayuk debacle and the story that happened there with Ayuk and the contract. And we're talking about draft misses and busts and first round picks that have not been helping the San Francisco 49ers, but 2 very low-key moves that the 49ers made this season in the trade market, one right before the season for Skyy Moore and another one right before the trade deadline in Keion White, have paid off a lot for this 49ers team. And maybe no 2 singular players were more important in the 49ers win than Skyy Moore and Keion White, who got a big sack in this football game and hit the quarterback a couple of times. And Keion White, he's not a difference-making player for the 49ers right now, but kind of becoming that Arden Key, Charles Omenihu, like kind of big end that can move around and give you a little something that they really need on the defensive line right now.
Yeah, he also has some nice run stuffs too. Just gobbled up. It was Junkins at the line of scrimmage, stopped him dead in his tracks. And as Robert Saleh likes to say, no leak yardage. All right, no leak yardage. So that was good to see. Just be impactful in both phases of being a pass rusher and run stopper.
Croc, do you have any more game balls here? There's a question about the NFC West and where things stand now with the big 49ers win, a big Rams loss. Do you have any other game balls before we move on from this game?
Malik Mustafa, man, just watching him continue to kind of fly around and make plays no matter where it's at. Made a play on the ball in coverage. Also watched him come down, run that alley, make plays in the run game as well. So really liking some of the growth that we're seeing out of some of these young football players, especially Malik Mustafa coming off of an injury.
Absolutely. Totally agree there. Great game by the 49ers, going on the road, bad weather, getting a dub, 9-4 record now for the San Francisco 49ers, tied with the Rams in the NFC West in the win column, one back in the loss column. 49ers have a bye next week. If the Rams were to lose another game, they would be tied at 9-4 atop the NFC West, Croc. And so the question is, with the Rams lost today, what does it mean for the Niners in the NFC West? Well, the 49ers are still going to be behind the Rams because the Rams are 9-3. The 49ers are 9-4. The Rams already had their bye. And so the 49ers are still one back in the loss column at 9-4 from the Rams. But right now, the 49ers are in a really good spot. And that's why they're in a great spot, not only for the wild card, but for the West, if it comes down to tiebreakers as well, because one of the big tiebreakers is or the first tiebreaker, it goes head to head, and then you've got division tiebreaker, and then you've got conference tiebreaker. And the 49ers only have one loss against an NFC opponent, that one Rams game all year long. So the 49ers and Rams have already split. That Thursday night win was massive for the 49ers earlier on this year against the Los Angeles Rams. And the 49ers haven't lost to another NFC opponent right now. So that's huge as far as tiebreakers go. So if the Rams were to lose next week, and the Rams and the Niners were both 9-4 going into week 15, the 49ers would have there's two NFC losses, one division loss for the 49ers. So the 49ers are 4-1 in the division and 8-2 in the conference. And so those NFC.
Yeah, the conference loss was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So with this loss, the Rams we have 3 losses in the conference and have a lot more games to go. They're 4-3 in the NFC. The Rams are, and they're only 2-1 in the division. So the Rams still have a lot of games to go against the. I say a lot of games. They've still got a Seahawks and a Cardinals game to go, and a lot of NFC games to go. So they need to win all of those just to keep pace with where the 49ers are right now with their 8-2 conference record. So the 49ers have conference tiebreaker over. I'm trying to look at I'm pretty sure. After a quick look, the 49ers have conference tiebreaker. They have the fewest losses in the NFC than any team in the NFC. So the 49ers potentially could win any tiebreaker against not only the Rams or the Seahawks, but any team in the NFC for those wild card spots, which is why they have over a 90% chance now after this win against the Browns to be a playoff football team. And it ain't over in the West either, Croc.
It's not over in the West. And I have one eye right here on the Minnesota Vikings Seattle Seahawks game, because Seattle's another team that's playing well, but again, had a tough loss to the Los Angeles Rams. So yeah, we're keeping an eye on the Seahawks right now. Trying to see also on PrizePicks, I took the higher on or more on Jackson Smith and Jigma's receiving yards. I take his receiving yards every single week, and you're likely to have a chance to come down with that. So I had to do a little PrizePicks plug.
Yeah, you got to do a little PrizePicks plug, and JSN is a good one to pick the more than week to week, as is Christian McCaffrey, even though I think McCaffrey did not hit the more this week on the rushing yards, just because those yards were so
rushing or receiver.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a smart bet. He got the ball 25 times still, right? 20 carries. So anyway, the Niners in a great spot right now, as was pointed out in the chat. A lot of teams with these injuries would be 4-9. The 49ers, the Niners were last year, right? This year, 9-4. You got to give credit to the coaching staff for keeping this team afloat. There's a lot of players who weren't expected to play a big role that are playing a big role right now for the 49ers, who are 9-4 and in a really good spot. Get to rest, lick their wounds. Bye week coming up in week 14, then the Tennessee Titans, and then 3 really tough games to go down the stretch. The Indianapolis Colts, one of the best records in the AFC. Right now, the 1 seed in the NFC, Chicago Bears in week 17, and then the Seattle Seahawks potentially even for the West in week 18. It is going to be fun down the stretch. Big win for the Niners, in a great spot right now. Let us know what you think, and let us know what you want us to cover here, because this is your podcast as much as ours. So thank you guys so much for tuning in post-game, making us your first listen of the day, making us the #1 sports podcast network, and Croc and I back tomorrow. right here. Locked On 49ers.